How have you seen sort of technology change how people are tackling curation in the workplace?
I think it's relevant kind of across the board for organizations of all different sizes because if you think about it from the small to medium sized enterprise organizations, they may have less people to respond to the needs of the business. Therefore, any form of automation to help them to discover the best content, curate it quickly with filterable options. So what I mean by that is, so you might search for something, with a phrase or a question or something and get a whole bunch of results, but then you need to be able to filter it in other meaningful ways. So maybe language is a thing, or maybe it's actually I only want to curate content which is bite size, or actually people within my organization prefer audio, or maybe it's frontline people who actually they're in the car or traveling and they prefer audio. So you need to be able to filter all of the content that's available to you in certain ways to make it most appropriate for the audience that you're curating it for. So if you think about, maybe you have a topic that you want to curate on. So a good example in actual fact is one. I'm just looking at a search that I did previously, which is around how to promote psychological safety in the workplace. So a really good example of this might be, you've got different audiences, one that's on the road, one that's in the office, and you want to curate a very similar playlist, but for those different audiences using different asset types. Well, if you were to do that manually, you'd have to go through, right, okay, now where's all my videos? Whereas if you use automation, you do the search, you change the filters, you get the results. And it's as simple as that. So regardless of the size of your organization or the libraries that you're searching over, that increases your scalability of an L&D department massively, because every time someone asks you for something, you can truly think, right, what is the best possible journey or playlist can I create for the different audiences that need to consume this content? Because something like psychological safety would be relevant to everybody in an organization. So it's a really nice example, in actual fact, of how you can tailor it. Whereas before, perhaps time would only allow you to create one and you would force people to sit in front of a computer or something to consume that learning, because that was the only available resource. It was the only time you had available to curate.
Yeah, well, one of the things we're sort of focused on a little bit is, how do we empower managers, like, managers of teams to
Yeah.
actually take a more active role in the sharing of knowledge and information and learning. So, knowing that an L&D team is, often trying to do so many different things, how do we make it really simple? I guess we're often, we're almost at the other end of the spectrum in terms of how do we make it easy for the content that has been curated to be consumed? Often you see that's the problem. Someone's gone to all this trouble of creating, or curating, in this case, this incredible content, and then the way which it's accessed is really difficult. It's confusing. So really, the simplicity for the kind of end learner in that case, or even the manager, to be able to very quickly share some things that they found with other members of the team, get contribution from the team. I think that's often overlooked as well. And the technology, of course, has got a role to play in how you make it easy.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
So it's coming back to the democratization of learning across the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, actually, Duncan, because, if you have got managers who, understand their needs directly, and they go onto this system to curate, they may be faced with an issue of like perhaps gaps in some of the content that they're looking for, and or it's not quite appropriate for the message that they're trying to get across within that particular playlist. And that is an opportunity for them to use their expertise to assess freemium content or web content, as we call it in Anders Pink. So this is where, so our core product, our original product was web curation, where we go out to the web and we look for the latest content on business related topics, and we filter out all the stuff that isn't good for learning. So we're not using algorithms for search engine optimization. We've got our own domain authority which looks for content that's good for learning. So in the results, they can see everything that the company has or that they subscribe to, but also they can see suggested results from the web that map to the search query. So this is an opportunity really for the managers with their expertise to be able to cherry pick, the very latest thought leadership on, or the latest industry information on the topics or the skills that they're curating content on. So it gives them an added benefit or advantage to the content that they're curating, and in order to broaden the learning experience for the learners themselves.